Hey everyone, welcome back to the Den Fireworks, and today's video is probably going to be a long one because we are going to talk racks. We're going to go through all of the racks that I have, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, my requirements for any rack design. We're going to go through the 2 incidents that I had and why my racks actually held up and worked. And I'll let you skip to the very end as well. There'll be chapter markers all through this. There's also going to be my first ever channel giveaway coming up as well. I bought a couple racks with my own money that I decided to do as a giveaway. And Dominator sent me some t-shirts as well because they didn't have my extra fat size. They gave me some other ones that I could use for a giveaway as well. So those are going to be up at the end too. You guys know I always preach racks. Good racks, safe design. We are using explosives that have been shipped halfway across the world. Who knows how they were built, what they went through on the way over here, if somebody was getting ready for a holiday the next day. There are a ton of things that could go wrong even when we do everything right. So I'm going to take a quick walkthrough of most of my racks. So these are my DR9 racks. These are 36-shot racks from Pyroboom. And DR9s are the only ones I'm personally using double spaced now. The 12-shot ones I had that were DR11, I either have DR9s in or I've used them for barrage candle batteries now. Not going to use double stack anymore. And any new racks I buy or build are going to be a spaced rack design. Personal choice, a little extra safety is good. We have the new OCTO racks that I picked up from Pyroboom. I ordered a 6 and an 18 on the pre-sale. Really wish I ordered some more of them. These are light. I think they're going to handle problems really well, and I like them. We have a bunch of racks that I've built, all 24-shot ones and some 6-shot racks. And these ones used to be 24-shot fiberglass mortars that I knocked the bases off. And then I wanted to get away from that and go HDPE. I did the measurements and I could turn it into a partially spaced rack. So I've got spacers on both end caps and every 2 mortars, and it holds 18 shells. Yeah, it worked out pretty good for me. I bought a bunch of racks from a guy that was retiring out of the industry. And these ones I love to use for my open shoots and or finales. The open shoots, it works great because they really stick out with the orange and black pipe going down the line. We have 1 of the 62mm racks that I built and 4 of the ones I bought off Pyroboom for my 62 mils. The ones I built, I spaced them out. I built 6 and then Pyroboom started selling them $18 for theirs unspaced. I bought 7, done. It was cheaper than me buying the wood. I picked up a 24-shot, an 18-shot, and a 6-shot Pro Pyro Racks. These are some great racks. I'll go more in depth on those as well. This is my original 50-shot rack, and I cut it apart to do a 30-shot rack at 90 degrees and then -15 on each side. And the 20-shot is 10 degrees out on each side, so I can send those up as a finale chain. And I did the same thing with 5 of the 10 shots that I bought from the guy who was retiring as well. And they work out really great for the finales. Just have both of these running at once, get 100 shells going, all fanned out. I usually do the first 50 shells, you know, at a good clip, and then really let rip the last 50. My ATC racks from Pyroboom. I love how easily you can change and set the angles on those racks. 18-shot fixed rack from Pyroboom. Some of the Gorilla racks from Pyroboom. I have 2 12-shots and a 6-shot that I wanted to try out for the timing and the spacing. My used to be 12-shot DR11 double stack racks. These are now, this one's been converted over for barrage candles. And the one underneath it, I'll put DR9s in, and I'll still run those double stacked. Pyroboom candle rack. You guys know I love Roman candles. I've got 2 of those. and one of the 1.5 inch racks that I built off of the HDPE mortars that Pyroboom sells for the 1.5 inch shells. I actually ended up building 3 of those racks, and those shells can save you some nice money. And then a couple of the things I was too lazy to carry out. I actually have 5 of the Pyroboom cake slice racks, and I have 3 aluminum 2-inch racks that I picked up off AliExpress to use for single shots, mines, comets, etc. I still have a few more I'm not digging out. Most of the ones that are out here are ones I need to clean up from my last show. And you can tell by looking at those ones which ones I have to do. Because as we look through, the ones with the plug side up, I didn't use those in my last show. They're cleaned, they're ready to use, and ready to load. However, I have a bunch of them that you see with the mortar side up. Those I just sent up on Memorial Day. I still have to knock all those lift cups out of them and get them ready for the next show, which I'm gonna start doing that now. So, first things first. If you look at every single rack that I have, whether it is spaced or unspaced, there are very similar characteristics to all of them. And there's a really good reason that I always make sure all of the racks have this. There's an 1.5 inch above the gun in every single rack that I have, and the bottom rail is 3 inches, so it does not go over the plug. Also, sides and bottom, they have to be a 2x stock. 2x3 works perfect for a single row. You don't have to cut it down at all. It just works. Now, personally, I am switching over. All my new racks will be spaced, whether I'm buying them or building them. I am still using my unspaced racks, and I will continue to use them until they fall apart and I need to rebuild them, which very likely is years away, but. So, recap, requirements: 2x stock, sides, bottom rail, not above the plug that is in the mortars, and 1.5 inch free in the top. Why, you ask? Well, if you are going to have a failure, 99% of them are going to happen at 2 places in a rack. They are either going to happen right at the top of the gun, just like this one did, where if the rail was right here, that force would have nowhere else to go but break that rail. That gives a chance for your mortars to spill out. So you never want anything up at the top of the gun. I know there's one place that builds all of their racks with the rail right up there, and you will never see me buy one of their racks, ever. You need this room for expansion because this mortar absolutely blew out. These hold a ton of force. It actually molded around the other guns next to it and pushed them in tight and still stressed the sides of my rack a little bit. But because the gas could escape off the sides, it took the damage instead. So you always want an 1.5 inch on the top rail. This weekend, I had my first ever of the other type of failure. And if you look, well, I can't see the stupid screen, so hopefully you guys can see it. This completely blew out both sides of this mortar. Complete blowout, both sides. Look at how much this bulged out. If I had wood here, it would not have stood a chance, and it would have gotten blown out as well. Also compromising my rack. Instead, this was the second shot that went. Look at this rack. It held, everything else went up vertical, and there was no issue. If I had a rail right there, this would have been a whole nother story. And I haven't even taken this one out to see what kind of pieces and parts we have in here. So, let's go do that one live. So let's see what's in here. Oh, well, we got all the clay plug was in there. We got a nice little piece of cardboard. But look how this rippled. See how it expanded? It's still pushed and formed around those mortars next to it. And look how far that plug blew out the bottom as well. Now, if this was a spaced rack, it wouldn't have stressed this rack out at all, because that would have had more room for expansion. This was an unspaced rack. If this was a stronger shell, it would have done a lot more damage because it's unspaced. But because it's designed right, it still handled it really, really well. And that's because this rail is under the plug. So it has the room to expand. And we've got this whole wide thing open. I see people who put spacers in, but they put a full spacer all the way down. That's not a spacer. You're building a box that's going to contain the force and damage the rack. So both of these events prove why you want to build racks like that. We have proof it's going to blow out the top. We have proof it's going to blow out above the plug, and that's just a must-have for any rack that I run. That's no compromises. That is what is going to be happening. And see, even if we look at that mortar that was next to it, you can see where it took a little bit of heat when it was molding around it as well. And these hold a ton of pressure. There is a ton of force that goes off when a shell doesn't leave the gun. So for cleaning my racks after shows, there is a good reason you need to clean them out. With the canister shells, you are going to find a ton of these lift cups in the mortars when you're cleaning them out. And these lift cups, they could be laying flat on the bottom, and you could drop another shell on the top until, you know, it piles up with a few of them. They can also be up like this. And if you reload a shell and that stays up, you're gonna lose lift, you're gonna have an incredibly low break, and it may not even leave the gun. Ball shells are even worse. You get this lift cup that is left in there so often, and that is gonna cause a shell to go out too. It's a reason I hate to reload during shows, and I don't do it. If you do, you gotta wait for the gun to cool down. You gotta knock it out and make sure everything gets out. Sometimes with the ball shells, you get the whole foil wrap that was left in there too. There's no way you're gonna get another shell to go up in time up over this. So we need to get all of that crap out of our guns. Now, I know there's some people who say, oh, you gotta toilet brush them, you gotta scrub them, you gotta do this. I don't think so. So the night of, once everything is cooled down, I shine a flashlight down, I at least make sure there's no cans in there, something that didn't go. I then throw them all in the shed, deal with them later. Take off my label for what it is. Take the guns out, turn them over. Oh, both of those just popped out lift cups. I give them a knock, you can see that extra soot and crud coming out. Just hit them right up against each other. And that's it, that's all you gotta do. While I'm knocking them out, I'm looking at the plug to make sure that the plug isn't cracked, the plug isn't coming out any, and that it's still a tight seal around the mortar. Because I've had ones where it just starts to get shot out, and that plug is shrinking, it's charred down, it could be slipping out. And that's just a quick visual inspection while I'm banging them out. Look at that, more lift cups just came out. More lift cups. Now you notice, I did not put the mortars back in yet. I put them all off to the side because I've got tape in here, I've got pieces of shells, I've got soot, I've got all kinds of crap. Turn the rack over, dump everything out, and then I look at it, I make sure it doesn't have any cracks, any rot, anything coming loose on it. Give it a quick visual inspection that it looks good. Yeah, my speaker port extension is still looking good on it. And then I reload it all with the mortars upside down, and I know these mortars and these plugs have been inspected. And when I am ready to run my next show, I can just pull this rack out of the pile, not have to worry about it, and I will be all set. So off camera, I'm going to do that to all of my racks that I sent up over Memorial Day. Make sure all my mortars look good, make sure my racks look good, and get them in the shed. So now I'm going to go through the bought racks that I've done, what I like, what I don't like. Well, actually, very little things I don't like. All right, first up, we have the Pro Pyro Racks. I'm not gonna bother showing you guys the racks I built. I have a video on how to make them. I'll link it up here. I need to update that I'm gonna go to all spaced and make a spacer video as well. But let's look at rack options that we have to buy. I always heard great things about Pro Pyro Racks, and I recommended them out on the channel a few times as well to different people. And then I was like, you know, if you're going to recommend them, you've never seen them, you've never used them, you really should get a couple to check and try. So I ended up buying an 8-shot rack because it was the cheapest, smallest one that I could find useful, and I figured I'd check that out. It came, I didn't even fire it. I went back and I ordered a 6, a 18, and a 24. The 24 will work great for demos, works great for having the angles. The 6 and 18 works well for me for when I'm doing demos when there's only 6 unique effects. 6 or 12, and then do the duplicates. These racks are all made solid pine and really nice grade as well. They are cut beautiful, they are assembled beautiful, they are solid. Pro Pyro Rack only sells spaced racks, and all of them are 3/4 of an inch spacers, and they put in staples at every junction, hoping that if something does happen not in our 2 safe zones, that will still help hold this wood from splitting or the whole thing from coming apart. It is 2x construction on the sides, the bottoms. It meets and exceeds all requirements for me to have a rack. There's 2 things I don't like about it. Most of them, the mortars come out nice and easy. This is more of a pet peeve for me. Some of them, you've really gotta fight and hold the rack to get it to move because the spacers are so tight. I do wish they would give it a little bit more wiggle room because I like taking the mortars out and dumping them after every show so I can know that they are empty and good to go. So that might just be a pet peeve for me. I know there's guys who just go put a screw right into the plug and leave them screwed into the racks. They obviously wouldn't care about that. Me, where I like to clean them out, knock them out after each one, and turn it around so I know my rack's ready, it's an annoyance. The other issue may be fixed. The shipping when I got these was insane. Now I am way up in the Northeast, so I'm a long way for them to ship them. That adds to it, so you local guys won't have to worry about that as much. But I did hear Jim Goofy Darts on the Rhythm Pyro podcast, and they've since launched a new website that is supposed to have lower shipping. I haven't been back to buy any since, so I don't know how much the shipping has improved and if that is still a concern. But these racks are 120% worth the money. They are solid, well-built, sturdy racks, and I plan on getting years and years out of these. Now, I did these ones first because I've bought a lot of racks from Pyroboom, and they have a lot of different racks. To start with, we have the 12-shot double row rack. This one originally was DR11, and I will still use the double stack racks for ball shells and DR9s. Personally, I won't use them for canister shells anymore, and that was before my latest little oops. But if we had this happen in a double stack, you know, it would have had a mortar right next to it tight too, which would have been pushing out against it and could have broken that frame. Now, I'm not telling anyone what to do, just me personally. I use these as DR9s, and I use them for barrage candles. You can hold a ton of barrage candles in here, you can put wood in and set angles. They work great, I still get my money's worth. And there's 36 shot racks, are 3 of these, 2 of them angled out on the sides. Love those for my ball shells still. Will use them all the time. Now, all of the Pyroboom rack construction, I'm going to show you part of the controversy, which I see both sides of. And I don't really have a dog in the fight. So, Pro Pyro Racks, if you look at their racks, they are all solid pine. The Pyroboom racks, on the top rail, they use plywood, and on the bottom rail, they use OSB. Now, here's the different debates on this. And I see the pros of solid wood. I see the pros and the cons on OSB. Solid wood, it's nice, it's sturdy. If we have a catastrophic incident though, that will pop along the grain and it could take out a larger chunk. That's why Pro Pyro has the staples in to try and cut that down as well. Where, you know, these multi-layers of plywood are gonna help eat up some of the force, and it doesn't have that weak spot of grain. So this will take a little bit more damage, but also shouldn't have a weak point to shatter. So most of my racks that I've built, I've gone with plywood on the top personally, and sometimes I haven't felt like ripping down a ton of plywood, and I have used hardwood. I'm fine either way. Now, the reason for the OSB on the bottom is, you know, if force pressure occurs here, that OSB is going to blow out, let the tube expand, but there's also not that structural weak point in OSB that it'll blow out this chunk, but the rest of it's all just glued together wood, and it's not going to shatter the whole rail. I like that idea. The cons for it, which a lot of people don't like about it, is it's OSB. If I'm using this out in the rain, if we get a sudden shower, if we forget it out overnight because we don't have time to clean the whole field, you know, this gets wet, it's gonna swell, it's gonna fall apart, so you do have to keep it dry. But it is an easy replacement too. The racks I use, I personally don't put OSB on the bottom on the ones I build because I don't want to buy a big sheet of OSB. I'm only using a little bit of it. It's another big sheet good I've got to rip down in my small shop. So I keep with the plywood or the hardwood, but that's a little bit of a take on the debate. So this is as basic as the Pyroboom racks get, but on the 6-shot design, they'll make an 18-shot rack. It's exactly 3 of those, 1 vertical, 2 angled. Same exact rack, you just drop it in at the angles. They staple it in off the side at the angles. Or the ATC racks, it's the same 6-shot rack. They put screw bolts in on the side so that you can use these handy dandy knobs in this cut front, and you can change your angles easily by loosening some knobs. Go 15 degrees in either direction, or on the sides, vertical to 15 degrees out. Super convenient for, today I gotta do vertical. Oh, the next show though, you know what? I need a 10-degree angle because I don't have huge room on the side, or I'm really going to drop this down because I got a wide field to open it up. Also for the ATC rack, they make the Roman candle holders that will fit in here and can follow the same angles. And they make rocket holders as well. So it's just a neat, versatile rack, I think. Now all of those are unspaced racks, which personally I am moving away from. I've loved Pyroboom. Eric has been outstanding to deal with. They are a great company. And I knew he did make spaced racks as well. And he's got 2 different series. This one is the Gorilla Rack. He also has a Gator Rack that is like this as well, but they got V-cut teeth to protect the bottom more. Once more, 6-shot rack. I also have a couple 12-shot of the Gorilla Racks, which are just 2 6s in a big row. And this thing is mega spaced. So NFPA 11234 display products want half of the diameter of the mortar as a spacer. So technically a 3/4 inch spacer is not enough for a 1.75 inch shell. So Pyroboom went overkill on these ones and put in an 1.5 inch spacer. Not a bad thing, it's super safe. There's a ton of room. It's the same spacer you'd use for a 3-inch gun. It's just big. You also have to account a little more space when you're fusing stuff together, but I mean, this thing can probably handle a small nuke happening inside it, and all the other mortars are going to be safe. So if you're running some heavy shells, you know, it's not a bad idea to have that extra room. I haven't bought a Gator rack yet to try. They are a little more expensive, and honestly, I don't see a need to since Pyroboom came out with their new OCTO rack design. You know, Pyroboom was teasing these things for a while, and as soon as they were released, I ordered a 6 and an 18, and I wish I ordered more of them. This is definitely new, unique rack build. It is so light to move around. Once more, Pyroboom likes doing the blades of 6, and then just add in more blades. So you want a 12 shot, it's going to be 2 of them. You want an 18 shot, it's 3. You can angle them out, you can keep them vertical, do whatever you want with them. This is a unique design I really like. Now, I think because the plywood is running this way, it's going to take even more force to get that to crack. I don't know that for science fact. This is my assumption. But I think that is actually going to have more strength on it than those side rails. And even though these mortars are in here really tight, the reason it got its name is you can see the mortar is not touching that side all the way around. It's in there good. You know, it's not going anywhere. But octagonal cut here. So it has more room to expand in here before it starts applying pressure to the side rail as well. And the gas is going to take the path of least resistance. So if that little bit of space holds off and lets it blow somewhere else and dissipate, just while it expands that little tiny bit, that can save a lot of damage happening. Bottom rail meets and exceeds my requirements. It's right at the top of the plug. Something's going to blow out. It's going to happen here, or it's going to happen up here. So I am loving this design. We've got the space in between the side rails. We've got space between each mortar. And I wish I had enough room that I could take one out and blow it up and see how it actually looked. And I'm actually going to try and get some land that I can do that at, and have the homeowner sign off and be okay with it. So those are the main racks I have from Pyroboom. I did buy a bunch of their 62 millimeters, the cake slice racks and that stuff. But this video is getting pretty long as it is, and I'm sure you guys all want to get to the giveaway. So for those of you who skipped right to the end because you want to hear about the giveaway, well, I'm sticking you with this. My main three priorities for a rack: 2-inch lumber, sides and bottom rail right to the top of the plug, and 1.5 inches available on the top of the mortar, because you are either going to have an accident here or you're going to have a bigger accident here. So you do not want material in those spaces. You do not want them hitting other things between there. And never build a rack with the rail right on the top of the mortars. Never put spacers that are boxes all the way down, that you're just building a box. You need space around it. Okay, I'm getting off my stump now. Now we're going to get to the giveaway. If you guys do not win one of the Dominator shirts or the racks, you can always buy some Den Fireworks merch. It is up on the channel. I will drop a link to it as well. Stickers, t-shirts, coffee mugs, all kinds of stuff, and it would really help out the channel as well. You don't have to, though. I'm still going to keep doing my same stupid stuff that I'm already doing. There's a lot more demos I have to do yet in this shed. All right? So thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys sticking with the channel and checking it out. And I hope you enjoy the first ever Den Fireworks giveaway. That's all. This is going to be a long one. It's going to be a witch to edit too, I think. Thanks, everyone.